Welcome back everyone, GameXA here, once again coming at you with some of the latest news from around the gaming globe. Now there hasn't been much meaningful news in the world of Nintendo gaming, but there are a few things worth talking about, and we'll be going over them in today's video. Welcome back gamers. Before we get into today's news, if you would do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already to support the channel, and of course leave any feedback, thoughts, or constructive criticism in the comments below. Now let's get into it. First up, Nintendo is currently premiering a multi-day indie showcase that has already begun, and we're going to pull some information from an article in VGC or VideoGameChronicles.com titled Nintendo has launched a multi-day indie game showcase. 2 new games hit the Nintendo eShop today, with 2 more also announced for release in 2023. It continues, Nintendo has kicked off an indie game showcase which promises to deliver updates and announcements throughout this week. Running from today until December 23rd, the House of Indies holiday event will see a new video released daily at 9 a.m. Pacific time to 12 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see a new video released early each day, with the first one viewable already. These videos will highlight game updates, announcements, and more from our partners, Nintendo said. Monday's announcement included surprise Switch releases today for Mortal Shell the Complete Edition and Floppy Nights. Nintendo held its most recent Indie World Showcase in early November, and the presentation featured over 20 titles headed to Switch, including Sports Story, Have a Nice Death, and Venba. Sports Story, the sequel to 2017 Switch exclusive Golf Story, was also given a December 2022 release window, which has yet to materialize, suggesting its launch could be announced later in the week. So far, it looks like almost a continuation of that November showcase, with some of the titles just getting updates that they showed from there originally. The article also goes on to mention something that I think could have been its own, or maybe had a separate article released, but it states here that, for those who don't know, Universal Studios Hollywood's Super Nintendo World will officially open February 17, 2023, the park announced last week. When it opens, America's first Nintendo World will house an augmented reality Mario Kart ride set within Bowser's Castle, a Toadstool Cafe, and a 1-Up Factory merchandise store. And I just thought I'd read that because that's Nintendo related, and if you didn't know and were planning on making a trip into that area, it might be worth checking out. But back to the event. This event came out of nowhere for me, but it's a welcome surprise. So far, the biggest reveals, in my opinion, have been the Mortal Shell Complete Edition, mainly because it's a competent Dark Souls-like game with its own unique mechanics, and there's really not many games like this on the Switch at all. And then there was also what looks like Pokemon Snap but for dogs, called Pupperazzi. So nothing too major so far. Everything up to this point has been updates to already released games or more information about games we already know that are coming to the Switch. But Nintendo has also mentioned announcements as one of the things to expect from this House of Indies holiday event. So I'm still hoping for some new or more exciting reveals later, like maybe a new trailer for Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, new games we don't know about yet, or the announcement of a new, more powerful Switch even. And I know that last option is more like wishful thinking than anything else, but hey, 'tis the season with Christmas right around the corner, so you never know. And this also segues nicely into the other topic I wanted to discuss. I'm going to pull up an article from The Verge titled Fall 2022, the Nintendo Switch really showed its age. I'm just going to read through this article a bit and then I'll give my opinions on the matter here. So it says, the Switch's hardware is pulling in the opposite direction of Nintendo's modern software, which is bigger, better, and more ambitious in scope than ever before. And yet the strategy of supporting a low-powered device that gets slowly updated is no different for the Switch than it was for Nintendo's previous console. This long-tail strategy has been successful for Nintendo financially, especially for the Switch, which is one of the best-selling consoles ever, but we are past due for an updated model. There have been rumors of such a device, and its launch was reportedly postponed due to the chip shortage caused by the coronavirus pandemic, among other things. Continuing to sell the Switch with its current specs is one of the biggest tech blunders of 2022, not least because Nintendo's inaction let other devices steal a sliver of the spotlight. One of them is Valve's Steam Deck. It's not a meaningful competitor in terms of sales volume, as the Switch is over 10 million strong globally, but Valve proved what more is possible in a modern handheld. And also the Steam Deck, I think it only recently was made like publicly available, as it was in more of like a beta kind of, or an early access program up until recently. We're skimming through the article here. It states, if there was ever a perfect time to launch a meaningful hardware update to the Switch, aside from any time in the last 2 years, it'd be on May 12, 2023, the day when The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will be released. It's a follow-up to the 2017 launch title Breath of the Wild, a brilliant Zelda game that revealed all that the Switch was capable of and not capable of out of the gate. Nintendo has some work to do in reversing the stigma that its Switch equates to not great performance in many games. Regardless, I don't think Nintendo can afford to stay still with hardware during 2023. So I pretty much entirely agree with the article. The Switch is definitely showing its age as an old piece of tech more and more, and 2022 has been the worst year so far in regards to tech issues in almost every major Switch release. The article asserts they don't think that Nintendo can afford to not release a new, more powerful hardware in 2023, mainly noting the prior performance issues that any game other than indies have on the Switch, and rising competition from the Steam Deck and others. And it is true, these issues are becoming so noticeable. I think the Switch may be heading into meme territory if they haven't already with its recent release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But another thing to consider, and the article may have touched on this in a roundabout way, but another thing to consider is that even during their most profitable generation, the Nintendo Wii, they still released the successor, the Wii U, just 6 years after the release of the original Wii. Now, the Switch was released in early 2017, I believe it was actually March 2017, which will make 2023 the 6-year anniversary. It would also line up with the apparent release of the new Zelda game that the article pointed out, which I think is an odd coincidence now. I didn't realize that before. I would say, if not an announcement about the next generation Switch, we should at least get some details on a more powerful Switch in 2023, just based off of Nintendo's pattern of releasing new hardware. And the only thing that might slow things down, like the article mentioned, is the ongoing chip shortage affecting pretty much all technology goods, but that issue will not be resolved anytime soon. So I don't think Nintendo or any company really should let their whole business be held up indefinitely by that shortage. They should find some way around it, because we're going to be dealing with that for at least a couple of more years, I would imagine. Anyways, that's all the Nintendo news for this video. If you found the video entertaining or informative, please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But most of all, thanks for watching GameXA.